Hey guys, hey, Steven here. Uh, Thanks for clicking on the video. Trying to show some tips and tricks using AcroRip 10.7. So first of all, if you don't have AcroRip, I think what I've been hearing, I'm in a couple community groups. I've been seeing a lot of people having issues. I'm not saying not to use it, but if you know how to use it, you can use the RIP software CAD link. But I guess for me, I chose AcroRip, which seems to be a lot easier. It's a plug and play kind of deal. You plug it in, install it, and you go right to work. It took me maybe a few hours to understand the program, but it's really simple. It's straight to the point. I don't think it's too hard to learn, but for beginners, AcroRip is the way to go. Now, to get the AcroRip, this program, excuse me, this program is not a download and install. This is a program where the place I got it from, which is DTF Pro, is you'll receive a USB. And what you go to the dtgpro.com, I am not sponsored by them. I'm just showing you a simple way to find a good website to get the program from. So once you go to DTF Pro, you want to slide over to software. Sorry about the clearing the throat. But there are a variety of RIP programs. You can see that there's disk. I don't have in my PC. I don't have a disk tray, so can't use it that way. Now, the program I'm using is at the top here. It says AcroRip 10.7 for DTF DTG UV printers. It's a RIP program. Once you click on it, there's a price to purchase. Once you go into the information here, I will link everything down low with the website and everything. You can read of what's available. The compatible printer I'm using is the Epson ET8550, which I know a lot of people in the communities I'm working with, like, that are having problems or issues that people have come across and found a fix for it. So I'm in that. So a lot of the people that's in there using the 8550. Now, once you go through and this is the one you want, you add to the cart, and you can start to see I'm already working on the next things I've got to get. But once you do that, anything over, I think it's $100, you get free shipping. So automatically you'll get the free shipping. But other than that, you want to get your inks, powders. If you're going, a full send is what I call it in the gaming world, a full send. You might as well get everything from them. So you'll receive the dongle first, the USB first, and then because it comes USPS, and I think the other one comes UPS or FedEx, depending on what they use. But yeah, go ahead. You can. I think it's recommended to put the shipping protection on, because if they get lost in the thing in the mail, you're gonna have to purchase all over again. But if it gets lost or damaged, spending a few bucks to have it protected won't hurt. So that's what I did. So I'll recommend that. Anyways, once you receive the program, over to you'll install it, and you'll have a program come up. If you want to run the install program and install it to whatever drive you want it to be on, C drive, D drive. But after that, it'll come up with an anti-theft. I can show you real quick what that would look like. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this and then reopen, and then you have the anti-piracy warning, and it'll go through and say, hey, F around and you're gonna find out, what they're gonna do. So, anyways, to continue on, um, you're gonna have a lot of things to go through with you're setting up your settings for it, all your color management, your printer. You want to make sure to uh identify what printer you're going to send everything to, and then your colors and your layout. So I'm gonna try to do all this in one run. So first thing you're gonna take notice of the file, and all the top management bars here. So to import anything, you can hit open and open up your file. And I usually have it set to the file I want to open up, which is all my images. Anyways, I'm sorry. So there's a print margin setup. You click on this. What I like to take note of is that I don't want to use the entire film. So what I usually do is set about a 1/2 inch on both sides of my film, which once I set, it's already been set, but it's already taken note of the margins on both sides here. And then you can save it um, to your folders, what you want to have, and then you initialize and anyways, that's for the print margin. Um, Head down to unit. You can change depending on where you are, whether in UK, here in the States, what's preferably used by you. I go by inch, but you got millimeters and you can change it. You'll get your grid, you get your note top. Go to centimeters, it'll change it for you. Okay, so we're gonna be using, but every tick is an inch. You can also change it to where you can see the grid, or yeah, the grid showing say for instance 0.5. So you can have your half inch marks as well. But whenever you make your images, your output size, you can always change that to like, hey, if I wanted it at 10 and a half, right? 10 and a half, and it automatically the image is locked in. So no matter what you do, because the proportion is locked, it's on true, it'll never change. But so whether you want the height, you wanted a 12-inch, it'll adjust the width for you proportionally. You have that going. So I don't usually use the grid. Keep it at 1. I'm fine with that. So that. Now all this other stuff I don't use other than open and reload. When you reload an image, say for instance you changed an image within the folder, like you went in there and changed the dimensions, and you don't know how to do the dimensions within the program. Once you change it outside of the program, you can hit reload and it'll fix it within the program. Now the edit, you don't really need to use it here because it's already sitting here on the top. So the edit, you don't have to use it, or you can use the right click button on your mouse to, have a quick shortcut to that. So there's 3 ways you could do it. You go edit, mess it with these, or you can mess with these icons up here, or just right click. Suggestion just to right click and keep it moving. The language, there's only one language, so don't. The view. The view, you want to look at the template. The template's where, so when you go in the template, it's going to come up with this, and you got to know a little bit about your printer. Like, how far do you want it to start from the top? How far you want it to start from the left and right? So I don't have anything to do with the t-shirt template. I just use the default one, which is the middle one. And then the X and Y axis. The X axis is, I think, sheesh, sorry about that. The X and Y axis is the left and up. I mean, the horizontal and vertical lines. You start it from 0. You can see it pushed it all the way to the left. I don't want it to start from the very, very edge. I feel like it's just not right. So I would hit that template, and I like to start off about a 1/2 inch off the edge. And since I'm dealing with a 13x19, you can see that it starts over here with that, but it doesn't look the same on this side, right? So the width is the box, right? You're messing with the box. The width of it, you could put what you think should be necessary. You can put 11.75. Apply, and you see it actually changed. But like I said, I have at least 13 inches going across, but I don't want to use all 13 inches. I will still give myself about a 1/2 an inch side. The intervals, same. I don't change that. Steps, keeping at 1, angle 0, and with normal. And also you can, with this, I'll leave mine at 11.693. Height will be 16.5. Now, granted, depending on what kind of heat press you got, I only have a 15x15 right now. But if you have we got a 16x20, you can use, the width, 12 inches, and then the height, you have 19 inches for the film. So I wouldn't even use the 19. I would stay with a 16.5. Just because when you remove the rollers, you lose the capability of the printer holding your film. So once the back rollers push out the last bit of your film, you have no control of it, and it could possibly mess up your print. So just keep it to where it's about 16.5. And then once your print's done, the back rollers will push the film out. Now you can go ahead and save it. So when you have different sizes, you can go in here with the template, click on the template you want, and then apply it, and then it'll change for that design you have. Now, so let's go to the first thing. You finished a couple of the templates, and you go up to file, and then you're going. Let me go ahead and close this one. Also to note that when you close something, don't just hit exit, because you're gonna close the whole program out. Just go ahead and close. It'll say, hey, you want to close this design. Hit yes. File. And it's going to bring up all your files that you have saved. Click on this one, right? The one we just had. Now it's kind of big. I'll just kind of click and drag until it's small enough to fit on my board. So now I have it up here. First thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and mirror it. That's the first thing, because anytime you print something, it's going to be face down with a white on top. So always make sure you mirror it. That's the first thing I want to do, because I tend to do that in the end and I'll forget, and then I have to So the first thing you want to start out, we're going to look at the layout. Depending on your film will uh I'm sorry, the print size, the film, yeah, the print size of your printer, it's going to be 13 by 19. That's just for me 8550. I just locked it in at that. Your output position. So your output position is where it's going to be located on the film within your template that you previously made. The number will change according to where you put it at on your template. So you can see it's about a 1/2 inch on the X, and it will change as you move it. So um, that'll always change whenever you move your image. Now the proportion, you got true and false. Being that it's true, the proportion is locked in anytime you change the size of it. If it's false, you can change it all which way, make it function. But in this, I always leave it at true. So anytime I resize it, it's now the only reason my image is big is because humongous file. You can always change it. Anyways, so staying true on that. To make this smaller for the next example, the repeat. To make multiple images, you can't just like copy, paste again. Program doesn't recognize that. So what you're going to do in the X is going to be left and left, right. So you can add one, being that it's overlapped, the XY spacing. You know, you're going to have to feather a little bit, 5.2, 5.3, scoot it over a little bit to where it fits and without overlapping. And then with the Y axis, you just click on that. Now again, it's overlapping, so you probably do the same 5.3 and it'll separate it for you. That. So this kind of throws it in a invert for the copy, but I don't really mess with that. Just keep it normal. Just keep it mirrored. And you can see I can't use these other ones to manipulate the position. You just got to grab the one that be there. And then pretty much that's it for that. So again, these are the width, length, 13 by 19. You know, changing these proportion position for the output on film. That's for the output position. The size, of course, you know, you change the size like this. But once you see overlap, you go into the spacing and adjust the size or the spacing for each one so they don't overlap. Again, with the proportion, you want to keep it true if you don't want it oddball look. And then the spacing, just like I said, you just do it according to how big, because if you make it bigger, you're going to have to adjust the sizing. If you want to make a small image, just mess with the spacing. Use the main image that you have loaded up. Also, again, shortcut. Click on the image with the right click. You'll have the button for rotate, mirror, and to justify where it's going to go, like top left, it's going to push it up to the top left. But you know, you can do all this like that. When you justify, it's going to lock into your template, so you just keep that in mind. You have your print button. You have all these buttons here. Same thing over here on the edit button or right click. You have 3 different options to use. All right, so the printer, on the printer tab, you want to make sure you select your printer. They have a bunch of different printers available for this program, and EcoTank ET8550 is what I'm using. Your port, you always want to make sure it's selected on your printer again. That is simple. You want to make sure the first 2 tabs are your printer, no matter what. I keep paper, check paper size off. You don't want to let your printer know, like, hey, I'm printing with this paper. You're gonna only use the rear feeder for the film, because you don't want your film to be fed from underneath and have it bent up coming up into the printer head. So I always want to use the rear feeder. Now the film, I just kept it at plain paper. I don't see why to change anything else. But I always tell people it's all about preference and how your setup is going to work for you. Now the resolution, color and white, use the 1440 DPI. And it's going to be, other selections in here, but I think 1440 is the best selection at any given printer, unless you know what you're doing. The feeding tray, or the feeding rear tray, the only one to use unless you got a roll feed. You can select that. Bidirectional, that is when your print head goes back and forth printing. It's going to print both ways. The unidirectional, it's going to print either coming from the left or coming from the right. It depends on what you want to do, but I think if you want a little print a little faster, to use bidirectional. On the ink, I heard different things on this, using the pretty much the dots per inch type deal. Yes, when you're using, say, heavier like hoodies or something, I've heard that you can use large to medium, but I've never had an issue with mix. But that's what I'm using now, is mix with t-shirts and hoodies. But like I said, if you're using, and you can test it out too, if you want to use large dot size, just because maybe it's for a hoodie, I would say go large. But in this case, I'm still using mixed. And that's it for this tab here. On the color tab, this is where you want to make sure when you put your ink in, when you first start out, you're going to set your printer up. It's going to go through the motions and say, hey, you need to put your ink in. Now, when you got the EcoTank 8550, don't use the ink that it gives you, right? That's not what we're using. You must get the DTF ink, please, to save yourself from calling for help. Then you messed it up. But anyway, so get your DTF ink. Now what I did, I discarded my ink from the bottles, and I put the DTF ink in the bottles I have, because the ink bottles have a, how you want to say it? It's like a puzzle. Each slot has a different, how you want to say it, slots, right? Different how it's set up, so you don't make a mistake by putting the wrong color in the wrong tank. So everyone has a different puzzle, I would like to call it. And what I did, I took the ink and discarded it, and I put the new ink in each bottle that I need to represent the tank I want to put it in. So what I went in, so the ink channel you want to set up, gonna come up like this. All right, so this can be designed for 10 channels. I only have 6. So it's in the EcoTank 8550, it'll have black, photo black, cyan, yellow, magenta, and then gray. I believe that's what it is. Yeah, so black, photo black, cyan, yellow, magenta, gray. So what I did, I changed everything out. I made my first 2 tanks white, cyan, yellow, magenta, as it was already defaulted. And then instead of gray, I put black. Make sure you lock this in, save it, whatever. That's important. And then when you come down to here, all about ink levels. I've been testing out which one works the best. It's just depending on your design. Finding out like 50, 60 on the white kind of works a lot for me. So it's all like, again, test out what works for you, because like your room, they want a certain level of humidity in the room for things to work out for you. But again, 50-60% works for me. The ICC profile, I don't use that. I never really got the knowledge to go diving into that. But I don't use it. But like I said, right now, everything that I have set up works for me. And I don't go into much of the white ink control. I just kind of leave everything at default. But if you want to change how everything looks on something, change the view from the white, like where you can show, hey, where the white at? Right there. Shows pretty much on top of the color. It'll invert it back and then preview. Guessing if it didn't have a transparent background, it'll show what's showing behind it. Again, I don't get into much of that. Now the next thing you want to get into is the print settings. Change that back to, all right. So once you figured out, like, hey, this is my print, I'm gonna go hit print now, right? You'll hit F10, the print button, so you don't have to go file print, right click print, search for the button to print. So F10. You want to come through and look at your print settings every time, because you never know if something has changed when you went into a tab. You might have changed something throughout here, but always come through and make sure everything reads what you want it to read properly. So output position is just where it sits at. The output size, hey, I want it to be 4.5. Make it look like that. And when you hit the print settings, it's going to change to 4.5, and it's going to proportionally set for the entire image. Again, with the printer and the port, make sure it's your printer that you're printing from. The ICC profile is off. The ink limits, it'll show what you have, what you put on the printer or the color tab. White channels, for me, it's always been 0. I don't know if it's changed at any given time, but it's a good thing to have both of these checked. I never had them unchecked, so I don't know what it is or the issue if it's not working or if it's not checked off both. Check mark. So when you first see it, it's gonna have these untabbed, unticked, but the white setting, you're gonna have what you had in the other printer tab, 1440 on color and white. But when you print, say for instance, you just want color, but doing DTF, you're gonna have the white on the back anyways, just to make it more pop. But have both of those checked. I've had times where I was wanting to make sure my ink was good, and I just wanted to color. I would click color, then print, the color first, and then hit print, and then I would just put a regular piece of paper just to see how a print's going, so I don't waste the film. But in this case, you want your white well, but let me untick this. Both of them should be 1 anyways. Both of these will be ticked. And that's it, basically. It's real simple, Just make sure you run through here, make sure everything is set to where you have it in these tabs down here corner, and then once you have it ready, you just hit print. For right now, that's pretty much it. On anything dealing with pretty much setting up the AcroRip to get ready to print, from bringing an image in, setting up all your settings, and hitting F10 to start printing. If you have any questions, down in the comments below. If this helped you in any way, whether it's just one or two settings or the entire program, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. It would help out. I appreciate it, and happy printing, man. We'll see y'all later.